This is NDTV, and you're watching Classics.
Well, if there's one Indian whom I would never ever dream or presume of introducing to anybody, not just in India, across the world, Amitabh Bachchan, who's now joining us in this very special chat. It's a pleasure, as always, and an honor to have you with us. The concept of brand ambassador. You're a brand ambassador for IFA, you're a brand ambassador for so many things right now. Would it also be fair to say that you are perhaps the greatest brand ambassador that India has had this century? I mean, 20th and 21st.
That could be your perception, it's not mine. I just do my job as diligently as possible. Whoever asks me to do it, I'm very honored, very happy that people come to me and ask me to represent either some of their products, their institutions, their concepts, could be IFA, could be UNICEF. And I'm happy that the association makes the concept grow in a certain way. If it's UNICEF, I'm happy that the polio campaign that was started proved to be extremely, extremely successful. I'm happy that IFA has continued with me, and I've seen it grow in front of my eyes. This is the 6th year of IFA. And it's just wonderful to be associated with something which is growing.
The concept of IFA, of course, is also taking Bollywood more and more global. And it begins to look to people, when you travel, when you go to the Middle East, when you go to Southeast Asia, when you go to Africa, and I'm sure you experience it far more than anyone else does, it often seems that there are two global competing cultures. There's Hollywood and there's the Bombay film industry, or Bollywood, as some people don't like it being called.
I don't.
So is that the way you see it also, that the real power of Indian cinema is really starting to move and conquer the world?
Well, I think statistically, I think these are perhaps the only two very potent film industries that are doing well and existing and becoming global. Hollywood, because of its existence and because of its money power and its spread, and the fact that its base is English, which is a commonly spoken language all over the world. And Hindi cinema, in the past, say, 10 years or so, has had a tremendous appeal across borders, across cultures, across castes. And in the recent years, because of the economic boom in the country, which is my own little personal philosophy, that whenever a country does well economically, everything about it suddenly starts getting noticed. So the food, the clothes, the culture, the music, the films, they're all getting noticed.
Well, it's of course, in the case of Indian cinema, it started off earlier, Raj Kapoor and
yes,
things like that. But IFA and this entire process seems to be taking it forward. I mean, perhaps an anecdote I can share with you. There's an acquaintance of mine who was once lost in the middle of the Sahara Desert. There was a rally, a car broke down, she was lost. She didn't know what to do. She started walking, she said, this is the end of my life. She came to a little Bedouin tent camp. It's a true story, I'm not making this up. She came to a Bedouin tent camp and she said, what am I going to do? Whatever I do, I'm going to get robbed, raped, murdered, perhaps all of the above. She walks inside and there are these Arabs sitting there in this camp. And she introduces herself and they look very quizzical. She said, I'm an Indian. So they looked at her, they leant back, they smiled and they said, Amitabh Bachchan? She said, yes, Amitabh Bachchan, Amitabh Bachchan. And they made her sit down, they gave her dinner, they put her up for the night. Next day, they got her back to safety.
Oh, that's funny.
Does that put a certain responsibility on your shoulder?
Well, I'm happy that they sent her back safe and sound, and I'm happy that, people were able to remember me. But yes, as you say, there are certain responsibilities that each brand ambassador would have to carry. I mean, you are not just who you are yourself, but you are also responsible for representing so many other associations, so many other products. And whatever you do, because you're a public figure, gets reflected in the public eye. If you misbehave, if you, say something detrimental, it all gets noticed. And somehow it gets associated with whatever you're representing. So yes, a great sense of responsibility.
How can the Bombay film industry in general, and you in particular as its best face, through campaigns like IFA, all right, you're taking it more and more global, but if you're conscious of the fact that you're representing India and you're the face of India in large parts of the world, how do you think that responsibility can be used the best for the country itself?
Well, ideally, of course, what IFA is doing is to hold an event which is truly representative of Indian film. An award ceremony where you get to see and meet all the artists, the popular artists, get to see their works, get to see their work being appreciated. IFA this year, as you perhaps would know, is starting a festival also in this IFA weekend where we will show some of our films right from the early stages, just to acquaint the local populace with what Indian cinema is all about. We hold charity events, which, you know, I think the Dutch this year have decided to play cricket rather than play football, which is almost their national pastime, and just create a wonderful ambience about what India is all about. Tell them something about our culture, tell them something about our people, most importantly, tell them about our films, and get some of them interested in our cinema. We've had some initial very good responses. I was there in Amsterdam for the first press conference, and we showed our film Black at the end of the day, and it was just like we were watching the film in any multiplex in any of the country's cities. Great reaction, same amount of applause, and really wonderful. So I think that they were quite surprised. Some of them came up and said, "Hey, you guys make movies like this?" So I think it's a great way to further our cause, great way for people to learn more about our films, because they are getting very popular, even in non-traditional areas where we never ever expected them. One can expect, you know, there's an expatriate audience in UK, USA, South Africa, but, you know, how do you explain Ethiopia, Nigeria, Morocco, Romania, the entire, Eastern Europe countries, Japan, China, so it's just catching on.
So given that, if there's a brand India which needs to be built, does the Mumbai film industry have a chance of doing that? You start by building an entertainment brand, which is what you seem to be doing very successfully, and then start extending it to other aspects of India, other parts of Indian industry, maybe some industry associations getting involved with it, and then start parlaying that power into other areas. Or do you see that's not really your responsibility or the job?
Well, I think that what I'm doing right now is mainly promoting IFA and the concept of taking Indian cinema beyond Indian shores and celebrating it globally so that it gets a wider view. But what is happening now is that because of its popularity, because of the fact that it's been so successful, there are institutions that are now joining in. For example, this year we've got FICCI that is wanting to come in, and we have a special event. We're going to have a forum which is going to be called the FICCI IFA Forum, inviting people from government, from India, people from the corporate world, almost 50 in number, going across to Amsterdam and getting an opportunity to interact with the local Dutch ministers, people from business world, and perhaps, you know, as a result of this interchange of ideas or whatever transpires in this conference, to be able to perhaps further the cause of business.
How about within the country? There's often a feeling that the Mumbai film industry could do more to create awareness about the millions of issues that really need awareness created upon. There seems to be some movement in that direction. Black, for example, you referred to just a short while back, which I think was just an outstanding film. Is that another area where you would encourage all your colleagues to move? If there are some areas in India, you can say anything, whether it's literacy, whether it's educating the girl child, whatever the issues are. If the Mumbai film industry throws its weight behind it, the chances are a lot of more people will get that message.
Yeah. Actually, it's wonderful to hear you talk like that, because the Indian film industry was an entity that was really infra dig about 50 years ago and was looked down upon. People from good homes refused to be associated with it. And for a very large period of time, it was a concept that, ye filmi hai, you know, don't associate with this, or it's too gaudy, or it's too... But recently, and thanks to some of the products that have been made, some of the actors that have been associated with this industry, it's getting a different kind of respectability. And thankfully, it's being appreciated all over the world. Indian films are almost like a parallel culture to the country. I'm not saying this is good for the country, but it is. The Indian film industry, coming to the other point of spreading the word around, has always been conscious. Whenever there has been need, whether there's a famine, whether there's floods, whether there's getting together, a tsunami somewhere, the Indian film industry has always been the first people to stand up, volunteer, collect funds, go out and work without any kind of push or being goaded or being asked to do so. If the actors and the prominent personalities of the Indian film industry are ever formally asked, they have never refused.
But how about the on-screen portrayals? For example, some of the roles that you may have portrayed.
Yeah.
in the earlier days, let's say the 70s, do you think some of those roles might have sent a different sort of a message which you might not want it to go? I mean, you at that time, I know you used to say, I'm an entertainer, I'm an actor, I do whatever I'm told to do.
Correct. But, you know, our cinema has certain unique qualities. Qualities of poetic justice, qualities of triumph of good over evil, and values of family. And in several films today, I mean, I was at a function earlier today where they said we keep watching Bhagwan over and over again just for that last sequence, where, you know, family values between parents is propagated. There are some extremely emotional and moving stories after people came out of seeing Bhagwan. Sons that have left their fathers for 10, 12 years, forgotten about them, just came out of the theater, called their father, went and apologized, wept, you know, grabbed each other and came together again. I mean, if a film like that is going to do something for society in this manner, we're very glad to do that. But our films have never digressed from anything that is, you know, morally wrong or culturally, you know, causing some kind of controversy. I don't think that we have catered to that. So yes, in a very hidden way, Indian cinema does propagate all these values.